Welcome to Love, Laughter, and Limits. I'm Tom Dozier, and this lesson is The Launch, Motivation for College. This class will help you if you're frustrated with your child's lack of effort when it comes to his education. It will allow you to stop nagging, coaxing, and cajoling your child about school things and help your child become self-motivated. This class is primarily for our Go with the Flow and the Adrift groups, but it could also apply to the Beyond the Rough group and even to some of our kids who have their head on straight. If your child is approaching college age, this class could really help you be proactive and avoid problems by laying it out in a very clear, motivating way as to why your child should go to college and apply himself. But if your child is already in college and you've ever heard a conversation like this, have you registered yet? Well, how many classes? Only 2? What do you mean all the good classes, all the good times are filled up? Well, what about earlier classes? Well, you shouldn't be sleeping that late anyway. Well, what about some of the later classes? How about evening classes? Well, it doesn't matter if it interferes with your social life. You're supposed to be getting an education, not hanging out with your friends. See, the problem here is that mom or dad is far more concerned with their child's education than the child is. In fact, as a parent, we're caring too much and the child is caring too little. So let's review this expectation for our young adults. Right? We expect our child, as an adult, to either be independent and self-sufficient or to be actively gaining skills to become independent and self-sufficient. And in this situation, the child is not taking school seriously, is not actively gaining the skills to be independent and self-sufficient, and we're just nagging and trying to get them to do what we want them to do, and they're not motivated. So the way to motivate a child in this situation is to try to make a connection between effort and payoff. And essentially, we're going to give the child a choice to either be independent and self-sufficient or to be actively gaining skills to become independent and self-sufficient. And that doesn't mean just signing up for a few classes and dropping a few classes and going to some of the other classes. It means actively engaged full-time in gaining those skills to become independent and self-sufficient. So, what this means is that if a child is independent and self-sufficient, the child pays the full cost of living. Everything, really everything. Phone, housing, food, transportation, car insurance, gasoline, medical costs. Now, maybe they're on your insurance, and if it's free for you, then you can leave them on your insurance. And maybe if you feel that you can't drop them from your insurance for fear that they're going to break a leg or have to go to the hospital and it's a huge event and you want them to have that coverage, fine. But beyond insurance, I say they pay for everything and you don't sign for anything, right? The child needs to be independent and self-sufficient. The other option is that the child needs to be actively gaining skills to become independent and self-sufficient. And you decide both how you're going to help them do that and what it means to be actively gaining those skills. So in terms of paying, you want to decide, what are you going to pay for? Are you going to pay for tuition and books and other school expenses at the local community college or the local university? Are you going to pay for living expenses at home or away, transportation, clothing, medical expenses, toiletries? You have to decide what it is that you're going to pay. Now, in my home, we paid medical, we paid car insurance. When the child became a junior, and not until then, they got a car to drive, and Mom and I still covered the major car maintenance at that point. If they were living at home, they could live at home for free. And they got a clothing allowance. And when it came to school costs, we actually determined what we were willing to pay and set it up like a scholarship. As long as you go to school and you're making progress, you get this much money per semester. If you change your degree and it changes how long it will take you to graduate, we readjust the scholarship so that you keep getting some amount of money until you graduate. It's prorated. And quite frankly, when I had a child who stayed at home and went to the community college, he was actually putting money in the bank while he was going to the community college, and then he applied that to go to a prestigious university after he got his 2 years through at the community college. So here's some samples of what it would mean financially to be independent and self-sufficient or gaining skills. So housing, food, and utilities, what you need to do is look at your cost of housing, food, and utilities and divide it by the number of people living at home, and that could easily be $500. The cost of the phone, $50. The cost of the car insurance. And in California, that ranges from $91 to about $200 a month. So there's $100 there. If it's your car, then they should be paying for the wear and tear on the car, the maintenance, and that could be set aside to cover maintenance expenses, and essentially car rental. And so that would, I've come up with about $40 for the maintenance a month, and car rental of maybe $100 a month. That's the wear and tear and depreciation on the car, and they can always get their own transportation. So you're not going to force them to pay this. When it comes to things like gas, clothes, personal items, entertainment, all of those things your child should be paying on their own without any kind of contribution from you. And I mentioned the insurance, you might cover that, but any expenses that come from them going to the doctor, co-pays, prescriptions cost, deductibles, they should be responsible for paying those things. And you add up how much that is, and in this case, that's $790 a month. And so if your child wants to stay at home, then you would expect them to pay $790 a month, which could be $200 a week or $30 a day. Now, if they're going to be actively gaining skills, well, then you're going to cover their housing and the phone, and you decide what it is you're going to cover, right? And you may even be paying clothing allowance, gas allowance, providing the phone. You decide what that is. And then you want to sit down and in a very positive, calm, restrained way, you want to talk about what that is. And so let's do a demonstration of that now. I'll get my associate Mark to come out here and join me. Mark? Join me here. Hello. Thank you for helping me.
Sure.
So this is actually a sheet I'm going to give you. I'm the dad, and I've got this printed out. I've got this printed out so that I can give it to him, a little something in hand. We could write it out on a sheet of paper while we had this discussion. And this is my son who, he's been talking about going to college. He's been saying he wants to go to college. He has been starting college a couple of times, dropping out, cutting classes, dropping courses, and he's just not making progress towards completing his education.
Okay.
Okay. So, hey Mark, I'd like to talk with you for a few minutes about school coming up and some of the finances associated with school.
Okay.
So, as an adult, you have really two choices. You can either be independent and self-sufficient, or you can be actively gaining skills to become independent and self-sufficient.
Okay.
So what that would mean is that you can either be paying your own way, or you can be going to trade school, college, whatever, with a plan that will get you marketable skills, that will be able to let you get a job.
I have a plan. I'm going to go to college.
Okay, great. So let's talk about that and what the financial issues are here. So when it comes to being independent, what that would really mean is that you would be paying your share of the housing, utilities, food, everything around the house. And when we look at our living expenses, your share would be $500 a month.
Whoa.
And the phone that you use is on our plan, which is okay, but that's $50 a month. Car insurance that we've been paying for would now be your responsibility. That's $100 a month. By the way, I checked with my insurance agent today, and that could vary between $91 a month and $199 a month in Livermore, depending on the type of coverage and the type of car that he's got.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay, so that's $100 a month. Car maintenance, which would be $40 a month, and we'll cover the actual maintenance, but because you wouldn't have necessarily it's our car, there'd be a $40 a month fee for cover car maintenance. Essentially, you'll be paying car rental, so the use of the car will cost you $100 a month.
Rental?
Now, if you're an independent adult, you're responsible for your transportation. Now, you don't have to use our car. You could get your own car, but that's really up to you. And then you would be responsible for paying for your gas, your clothes, all your personal items, shoes, shampoo, deodorant, razors, any kind of thing that you want to buy, all your entertainment. Now, health insurance, because you're on our family policy and adding one more person doesn't cost anything, then there's no cost for the health insurance in our situation.
Gee, thanks.
But you're responsible for any medical expenses. Go to the doctor, there's a copay. You get a prescription, there's a copay. If you go into the hospital, then there's bills and such you would have to pay for that. Now, if you look at the way this adds up, that's $790 a month.
$790?
Right, and we would expect you to pay that at the first of the month, or you could pay it every week, and it would be $200 a week or $30 a day. And that's really up to you. Now, the good news, though, is that you said that you're really focused on getting your education.
Yeah, I'm going to go to college.
Okay, so as long as you're working toward a degree plan, and that means we're going to need to have some discussion as to what it means to be actively engaged with a plan for you to get a degree so that you can get a job.
Okay.
Okay, then housing is free.
Oh.
We cover that.
Okay.
Phone's free. We cover that. Car insurance, it's free for a good student and a good driver. So if your grades are above a 3.0, then we cover it all. But if your grades drop below a 3.0, then there's an extra fee, and you would be responsible for that because you're responsible for basically what's your own actions. Car maintenance, we cover. Car rental, the use of the fee. Car, no fee. In fact, we will supply $80 a month for gas to get you to and from school.
Okay.
$100 for clothes.
Thanks.
Right? We'll pay tuition, books, all of your standard school expenses. When it comes to your personal items, we just typically add those onto the grocery shopping list. We'll cover those, the basic razors and things that you might be needing. Entertainment, still your responsibility. Spending money, your responsibility.
Okay.
Health insurance, free. We cover that. In fact, all of your health care, doctor visits, co-pays for medicine, such, is all covered by us. So essentially, instead of paying us $790 a month to be independent and self-sufficient, you will be getting $180 a month to help support you for your gasoline and other expenses while you're going to school.
Well, that sounds pretty good.
Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to come up with a plan so that I can see that you're making progress and that you're really actively engaged to school. That means you're going to all your classes, you're doing well in your classes, you're doing your assignments, that you're taking that as a full-time job so that you can get an education and then be able to support yourself. So I'm glad that you said you wanted to do the school bit, right, the gaining skills. And your mom and I aren't going to bug you about registering, about signing up for courses, but we need to see your degree plan and the courses that you are signed up so that we know you're on the gaining skills side.
Well, I can't sign up for next semester until August.
I know, and it's July now, so that's fine. We're okay till then.
Okay.
We're okay. But if you start to go to school and you change your mind because it seems hard or you don't like the professors or for whatever reason, then it's going to start moving you back on the side of being independent and self-sufficient. So should you withdraw after the first month, then we would expect you to start paying how much?
$790 a month?
That's right. But if you stay actively engaged, do your assignments, and which would mean that you would end up getting good grades in the process, then how much what is it?
$180.
Who pays who?
I get that money.
That's right, you get that money. Okay, great. Hey, thanks for having this little chat with me, Mark. I appreciate it.
Okay.
And, I look forward to seeing the kind of courses you've signed up for and your degree plan, what this is going to lead to.
Okay.
And if you need any help in understanding exactly how to give us something that so that we can see what you're doing, we can talk about it. We'll work it out. Hey, thanks.
All right.
Okay, there we go. Thank you very much, Mark. Okay, so what does it mean, and we didn't discuss it, but I mentioned when I was talking with Mark that he needed to be actively gaining skills to be independent and self-sufficient. He needed to be going to school as a full-time job. So one of the things that I would advise you to require is a degree plan, something which shows the courses listed out that the child is going to take, what semester he's going to take them, and have a plan that tracks it toward a degree. There needs to be, and full-time student is at least 12, but you may not be satisfied. That may not be sufficient. See, with my kids, I paid for 8 semesters of school at 15 hours a semester. That would typically get you a degree. I also have made provisions for a longer time of, some degrees take really 5 years. And so that's okay that you pay for that. That's not a problem. But you want to set your expectation as to what it means to be actively gaining skills to become independent and self-sufficient. If you have a child that has had failures in school, have dropped out, then you need some evidence of progress. And this may be some form of weekly type of progress. I've joked with a parent about having their son take a picture when he's in the class and email it, and sending it to mom and dad through the phone. Or just lay out the assignments so that mom and dad can see what they are and to see that he's doing the assignments. But you need to not give your child an 18-week pass of free room and board and money because he says, I'm going to school and doing my stuff, if in fact there's a history there which says you can't trust him as far as you can throw him. Okay? You also need to expect, and should expect, Tom's opinion, that the child get good grades, a B average or better. In reality, C's do not create job opportunities. And there's been enough grade inflation since I was in school and you were in school that a B average isn't that tough anymore. Now, if there's limitations, if the child has mental limitations and has a challenge learning, that's a different situation. But in general, what we're expecting them to do is go to all the classes and do all the homework and do it well. Now, there's other opportunities and options that the child may go for, and you can tell them that there's other options that you're fine with that. Maybe they're going to a trade school, but you wouldn't want to pay for the $27,000 Harley-Davidson school. You'd want to be reasonable about what you're paying for. I don't know, if you wanted to, that's fine. But if a kid doesn't know what they want and then they pick the fun school, that's probably not the thing that you really want to have to pay for. And it has to be within your finances, right? It's up to you as a family as to what you can afford. Maybe the child will want to join the Army or the Navy or some branch of the military, and that would provide room and board. Maybe they decide they want to move out. That's okay. But if they're actively gaining skills, you need to see it and you need to know it. So, as you saw in the demonstration, right, we talked about the choices: actively gaining skills or being independent and self-sufficient. Did you notice that I tried to be fairly upbeat and optimistic? Right? I didn't mention his past failings, about how many semesters he had signed up for school and had dropped out in the first month. I didn't criticize his lack of effort or his poor ability or his lack of follow-through or initiative. I kept it brief, and to any complaints, which we didn't really have any complaints, right, would respond with empathy and understanding, just like our set expectation skills has demonstrated before. Now, if a child doesn't want to go to school full time, but they want to say take 2 classes, well then you can find somewhere in between the amount that you're going to pay them versus the amount they're going to pay you, and if it's halfway, you meet them in the middle. But essentially, you set it up where for the time that they're on their own, they're paying all of their efforts, and if they're going to school half-time, then you're providing the half-time benefit. Now, follow through. This is really critical with kids who have demonstrated in the past that they're not real motivated. You need to make this plan in a way so that you know what's going to happen and you know how to judge the contingencies. You may set a date to start this expectation where you have the child start paying the rent, and if a child has dropped out of school and it's now mid-April and they're not going to be able to go to school until September, I wouldn't give them a free pass until September. Right? I would require them to expect them to start paying their share of the expenses. If it's, midsummer, yeah, that's fine as long as they're demonstrating that they're going to register and they've got their classes and they're showing you their courses, their schedule. You might want to phase it in with the amount that they have to pay, so that instead of $790 the first month, maybe it's $300. And then $400, and then $500, and $600, and $700. You don't want to make the amount that they're paying based on the child's current income or whether they have a job or not, or it'll start once you get a job. See, that's a ticket for failure. If it's going to start once they get a job, then there's no reason for them to get a job. And if once they get a job, they're paying almost all their paycheck to you, then they went to the effort to get a job, they're expending energy instead of sitting home on the couch playing video games and watching movies, and what? They got nothing to show for it. So this is the case where you figure out how you want to phase it in. Once again, you want to make it independent of the job the child has and of the amount that they're earning. And then you want to let your child choose, right? If the child selects the skills, you want to see that they're actually doing it and actively gaining the skills. But if the child shows by their action that they're not actively gaining skills, then they move over to the independent and self-sufficient. And as a parent, you want to respect the child's choice. You don't want to beg or nag or badger or coax and cajole, and once again, you want to expect the child to comply with the contingencies. And if they're not, then you need to look at the class on dealing with squatters or clearing out the roost, and you need to let the child know that you're not here just to give them a free ride. Right? That they're an adult now, and it's an adult. They need to behave as an adult and provide for themselves. So, thank you for watching this class, The Launch, Motivation for College. I'm Tom Dozier, wishing you an abundance of love and laughter in your family, which can be tough with young adults, right? But along with the limits, which your young adult still needs to help him make the difficult transition from dependent child to independent adult. Thank you.